This one here, when I pass it around, look underneath, right up on this side here, and you'll see that the tin, not the tin, but the wire mesh that's on the inside is all buckled, and it's actually broken. What the student did is when they put it on, they didn't get this sitting down where it belongs. It wasn't down tight. There was a lip in there, and they caught it on the lip, and then they forced it down with a nut, and it actually pushed up on the paper. It kind of crushed the paper, and it bent the wire mesh on the inside. And because it wasn't sealing, dirt actually was traveling right underneath the filter, and it wasn't sealing. This is an example of a filter that's really dirty, and when you look at it, you won't see a lot of space in there. That's an example of a filter that's used to its maximum life. And we're going to talk about maximum life. This one here is the one that got cut. You'll see a big gash here. And this end here, when they installed it, they caught the edge of the housing that it went in, so they crushed this down, and there's a big gaping hole in the paper at this end, and this actually came out of the application this way. So whoever installed it did these two problems, and we pulled it out. The next type of filter that's out there is an oil bath. An oil bath filters are something that they were very common. They've kind of gone away from them. But the last 2 years I've been at trade shows, and I've actually seen some new machines out there with the oil bath. The advantage of an oil bath is it's cheap. In order for me to change or fix an oil bath, it only takes approximately 1 quart of oil to change it. I don't really need a super high quality oil. A good detergent oil would be good. What they recommend is whatever oil you put in your engine, you put it in your air filter. If you change your engine oil, you pull the air filter canister off, you drain the oil out, scrape the dirt out, put new oil in it, stick it back on. Its advantage, it has the highest filtration of any filter system. The disadvantage is it's really messy. This is an oil bath filter system, and it has a pre-cleaner on the top that we talked about. The plastic is broke. On the bottom is those fins. Air comes in, swirls, and goes down the center. If you open up an oil bath, what it has on the inside is wire mesh, and it looks like one of those SOS pads, but it's all just wired. Or what do they call that wire pads that just all wire? Steel wool. It looks like steel wool in there. A little bit coarser than normal steel wool. This has an oil level line. It says oil level. You fill it up to there. This bowl sits in there. The way this works is air goes down the center tube. It hits this bowl. That causes the air to blow through the oil, and it will actually draw oil up through the canister. And this is full of that, looks like steel wool wire mesh. It pulls the air and the oil up through the wire mesh, and as the air travels through, the air has to change directions around the steel wool. As it travels, it's got the oil on there. Dirt particles can't change directions, and they stick to the oil that's on the wire mesh. And then as you shut the engine down or lower your RPMs, the oil runs back down through the wire mesh, and it washes the oil back off down into the bowl, and it collects in the bottom of the bowl. Because once it sits in here, it settles. What it will do is it'll actually settle itself out, and when you drain it, there'll be a film of oil in the bottom. It will be almost hard. You scrape it out.
What kind of oil? Just any kind? All right.
Any kind of oil. Typically, they say use the oil you use in your engine, but you could use a pretty cheap quality oil. It doesn't even have to be expensive oil. The problem with it, just like I'm having the problem here, is it's messy. It gets all over. When you pull this thing off, I got a disposal oil, which is a hazardous waste, and so I'm dealing with all the issues of waste oil. It gets all over my hands. It's all over. It's just messy. The other problem is it has to be mounted in one direction. I can't go on a side hill very well because it tends to run up in here and it gets into my engine. If I get on a big side hill, this bowl tends to lean, it'll start to leak, it gets on the outside, and as most of you know on golf courses, oil on your golf course is a bad deal. So not because it's going to kill it, it's just oil is a bad thing to have on your golf course. Hot oil kills grass, not cold oil. So big, just admit it's messy, and it's got to be in one position only. And most manufacturers, they make an engine, they look at what little space is left, and then they decide, oh, well, this is the shape that we have left. Let's make a filter that looks like that. And this type of filter doesn't work well for that. It's got to be exterior, it's got to be bulky, and it's messy. So you'll see there's not very many back out there anymore.